but we're talking about the most brilliant mind this world has ever seen.
Welcome back to the Brian and Brenden Talking About Beaver Football Podcast, episode 6. 6 episodes. All right, Brenden, we are looking ahead to Cal, just days away. Oregon State's coming off of a, rather forgetful game in Boulder against Colorado by the score of 47-6. Is that was that the final score?
I believe so.
Man, what? I still can't wrap my head around that Colorado is a legitimate team now.
Funny thing is, I can. I have no problem. I have no problem seeing that. I knew they were for real when they lost or when they almost beat Michigan. The thing that I'm having such a hard time is Oregon State, Brian, might be worse this year than they were last year. They might be, because there's a very, very good chance they could go 1-11 this year.
That is.
I mean, I'm looking at it, and I mean, the Beavers had some duds last year, Brian. There were some games to forget. That game against Colorado reminded me a lot of the Arizona game last year, where Oregon State scored first in that game, and everyone's like, whoa. And then Beavers just weren't competitive, and, I watched it for about 5 minutes. I was like, well, enough of this.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't watch the game live and whatnot. We were, at the video at this journalism conference, so we're not able to watch it. I was going to watch it later, but I got a update at halftime, and I was just like, you know what? Might as well not. When it was 36-6.
Yeah, it wasn't so good. And Daryl Garrison had already been benched. And
at that point, it's just like, okay, let's put it behind it. So we won't get too much into the.
Yeah, there's not too much to say about it, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure the coaching staff for Oregon State feels the same way, Brian. They're just trying to put it to bed. Yeah,
and right now, I think Colorado right now is showing just how cyclical the Pac-12 really is. Well, you hear that teams go through, nice ebbs and flows of sometimes they'll be high, sometimes they'll be low, and Oregon State, right down their low. In a couple of years they could be on the upswing. It's just kind of what happens.
It's funny though, because Gary Anderson said today, obviously today at practice, Brandon Cooks stopped by, and Gary Anderson said Brandon Cooks the conference has changed a lot. A lot of non-players are now big teams. I'm sure Brandon Cooks was referring to Colorado, who, when he played him in 2013, his last year, I think he had 200 and some yards receiving, and Oregon State just blew Colorado out of the water that year. And, Colorado that was Coach McIntyre's first season. They were awful when they came to Reser Stadium. The Beavers were potent offense at the time, and you look at the ebbs and flows now, as you mentioned. Now it's the complete opposite. Oregon State's awful. So far in this season. I mean, maybe not awful, but not very good. But the thing is to consider, I'm not sure how much to read into this, Brian, but arguably, Oregon State's last 2 losses, they have come to teams that are now in the top 25. I'm not going to, justify a loss anyway. But Boise State and Colorado both ranked now. Just a thought out there.
That is true. And yeah, it's just...
seeing a number next to Colorado is
weird. Next to Colorado is weird. Washington at number 5. Oregon's not ranked. USC's not ranked. Utah's ranked.
Stanford's still out of the top 10.
Yeah, but I mean, Stanford's kind of been around there for the last 5 years.
That's true.
5 or 6 years. But
That's
yeah,
true.
the weird thing is just seeing that even go back 4 years ago, Washington was not very competitive. Colorado was non-existent.
I would even say, look at Husky fans. I mean, it's hard to believe, but I mean, you look at the last time Oregon State was competing for Rose Bowls, Brian, in 8 and 9, 2008. Washington State went 0-12.
Yeah, and
they did not win a game. They didn't. They lost their only chance at a win. And then the funny thing was they went 0-12 that year, and Washington State's that year went 1-11 with their only win being the Huskies. So. And now Washington State and Oregon, the Washington schools and the Oregon schools have almost flipped.
Yeah,
Washington's really, really good like Oregon, and Washington State's kind of like Oregon State used to be, good, going to win you that 7-8 win mark. It flipped.
Yeah, of course, right now, Washington and Oregon play this weekend, and it'll really be interesting to see just how there's been a flip where in the powers of the Northwest, where at one time it was Oregon State were we're the cream of the crop of the Northwest between those 4 schools that are all like considered like rivals.
Yeah, not to mention 2009 War for the Roses.
Yeah, and well, what I'm saying is like now the power has shifted to Washington, where
Yep.
at one point it was in Oregon.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I said. I mean back then, not too long ago, Oregon State and Oregon both competing for Rose Bowls.
All right, so before we get into the topics for today, let's kind of recap what we did right and what we did wrong this weekend with our picks. We'll keep we'll keep ourselves accountable. I have our games from last week. So the first game, of course, was Stanford at Washington. Brendan, you actually picked this game correctly.
I did. I said Washington was going to win. I think it was a lot. I think my pick was a lot closer.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would have picked a 44-6 whooping by the Huskies. Man,
What was my prediction?
You had 28-14.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I'll take the 1-0 though.
Yeah,
Woohoo!
I went 21-17 Stanford, and yeah, I'm surprised that Stanford got beat that bad, but it happens. Stanford was bound to have a game. Their offense is almost putting up the same numbers as Oregon State's is. It's not great. They're averaging like 20 points a game. All right, next up we had Utah, California. This is another one we disagreed on. You picked Cal. I picked Utah. Came down to the final play, and Cal made a defensive stand to win, which is shocking.
And that brings Brenden to 2-0.
2-0.
Woo!
What do you say? Even a broken clock's right twice a day.
Hilarious.
But it doesn't get any better because I picked the Oregon State upset, which I have no reason to even.
And that puts Brenden at Trace and O.
Trace and O.
All right. Do I get any better, Brian, or does it just get worse for me from here?
It gets a little worse for you.
Okay.
Because you had Arizona State.
I did.
Dominating USC in the Coliseum.
And that could not have been 4 opposite. Okay, Brenden, 3-1.
All right, we both picked Washington State. That was good.
4-1.
And the final game, UCLA. Did you pick Zona?
Did I? No, I didn't pick Arizona. I picked UCLA.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. You have it 28-14. I had 31-17. So
We both picked UCLA.
okay.
So, I went 5-1. That's some betting odds right there. I could have won some money.
You could have.
Should have. Anyway, regardless, though, it's interesting to see. I could not have been more far off, but I mean, Brian, I don't know what you were thinking about that Oregon State-Colorado game.
I don't know. I thought
I don't think you were believing the Colorado hype yet.
Yep, I wasn't quite on the bandwagon, but what can I say? They look legit now.
They do indeed.
We have a clunker every once in a while.
Indeed.
So anyway, all right. So not the best showing by me on the picks. We'll get more into those to the week 6 picks a little bit later. Brendan surprisingly did really well.
Hardy har.
All right, so let's talk about this upcoming game against Cal. Daryl Garrettson hasn't finished the previous 2 games. He was replaced by Connor Blunt against Boise State and against Colorado, but he is still being named the starter. He's going to be, he is a captain. He earned the starting spot and whatnot. Do you think they should still roll with him?
Yes, because I think bottom line, Daryl Garrettson gives you the best chance to win on Saturdays. And if you're not putting your best players out there to win on Saturdays, you're in the wrong business. Gary Anderson knows that Connor Blunt and Marcus McMaryion are not at the level Daryl Garrettson is. The thing is, Brian, we still have not seen the Daryl Garrettson that played very well against Minnesota. I mean, maybe not very well, but managed the offense well enough to give Oregon State a shot to win the game. We have not seen that Daryl Garrettson since. And, they beat Idaho State on talent alone. Okay, I'm going to give you a pass on that one because that was just, you're not going to, that's not impressive in my opinion. And then, Boise State, you saw it. Colorado, you saw it. Oregon State hasn't gotten good quarterback play since that Minnesota game, arguably in my opinion. So, with that being said, if Daryl Garrettson is healthy, which I think he is, I talked to him earlier this week, Brian, and he said it was actually it was nice and something he said he had a few doubts about. It was nice to know that Gary Anderson, to not have to look over his shoulder for Connor Blunt. He said that was a very nice thing to not have to deal with and have him just focus on football. And I think that's a bigger thing than people think when quarterback controversies happen, because you do start to think about it in their head, and you think, well, if I throw this pass and I don't and throw an interception, am I going to get yanked? You don't want to have a quarterback on your short leash. Gary Anderson has said how much Darryl Garrettson means to this offense. Let him go. And I think, unless he's hurt, keep him in the game. Stick with your captain. It just looks better for your team.
Yeah, Garrettson, 3 touchdowns, 228 yards against Minnesota.
That's very good.
Hasn't thrown a touchdown since. I believe he had a rushing touchdown against Idaho State.
Yep.
I don't know if there's been anything, because they didn't score an offensive touchdown.
Nope, they did not score a touchdown, period, against Colorado.
Yeah. And then Ryan Null had the rushing touchdown in the first half against Boise State. And
then I also think it kind of goes along with the fact that the offense has stagnated a little bit. Wide receivers, Jordan Villeman's been absent this whole year so far. Seth Collins has been serviceable as wide receiver. We haven't seen much from Victor Bolden in the non-special teams role since that. I mean, sure, Victor Bolden took a big run against Idaho State, but that's Idaho State. Victor Bolden hasn't still been that deep threat that people thought he would be still. Victor Bolden, Jordan Villeman, they've really kind of disappeared, and that's why Trayvon Bradford and Timmy Hernandez have gotten some reps in practice. Because arguably, Victor Bolden made a few nice catches, but if you're a senior go-to receiver, you got to step up. And Jordan Villeman, same thing. You're a junior, you're a go-to receiver. You've been here starting for 3 years. Got to be there. And Jordan Villeman didn't even make a catch against Colorado. Now, he did come out and say he had some issues. He got complacent, wasn't focusing on football enough, and he says now he's good to go. And, arguably, Jordan Villeman, statistically anyway, does very well against Cal, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said. I mean, the offense has been a little stagnant. I believe it was Monday, Gary Anderson, or it might have been offensive coordinator Kevin McGivern, said something along the lines like, "We need to play better around the quarterback. It's not just solely on it's not just the quarterback that's making mistakes. They have to play better across the board on the offense." And you're seeing that. I mean,
they haven't gotten a running game going either.
Yeah, a lot of things, aren't working out. There's just a lot of things that need to happen on offense that isn't happening. I do think they should still roll with Garrettson. I don't know about Connor Blunt. He had a couple good moments against Boise State, but I don't know how much that's gonna carry on through the rest of the season. I don't know if he's the answer. I'm a little surprised they haven't gone with Marcus Marion at all.
Because you told me he looked. You were here a few weeks before I was in fall camp, and you said you thought he looked really good.
Yeah,
and now he doesn't even get reps. He doesn't even get reps in practice that us media see anymore. He does. I have not seen him get a rep since the Idaho State week.
Yeah, I have no answer for why it's happening. It's
bizarre.
It's bizarre. That's the best way to put it. But I think this week might be a little bit better because there was. What I found really interesting, this week, going to practice and talking to some of the coaches was, especially on Tuesday when TJ Woods, he was like, he thought the offensive line played really well, given the, where they're at. They had Sean Harlow back in his first game. He said Dustin Stanton at guard played his best game of the entire season.
And maybe it showed in the run game with Art Pierce getting like 6-7 yards of carry, but Ryan Null did nothing, and they still couldn't protect the quarterback very well. Darryl Garrett, it's like Gary Anderson. The quarterbacks were still kind of running for their life a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just going off
I'm not disagreeing
what's being said.
I'm not disagreeing with you by any means, but it's odd. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it was a little weird. You don't expect I thought we played really well, and I think they really liked the starting five that came in. Fred Lawina went out. They threw in Gus
Lavanka, I think. Sorry, Gus, if we're saying your name wrong. If you listen to this podcast, pretty sure it's Gus Lavanka.
Yeah, he came in, and Woods had nice things to say about him. So I mean, there's, we can pretend like we know a lot about football, but I can't. It's tough for me to judge offensive line other than when they're just getting blown out of the water. So if they like what they're seeing moving forward with that group, with Gavin Andrews at center, Dustin Stanton at guard, and Sean Harlow, I mean that's probably the best unit that they can put out right now.
Yep.
And so I think, they only have like 1 week to work together in their new position. So there's going to be a lot of like confusion and a lot of just like getting like used to this new thing. Cause when I was talking to Dustin Stanton, he was like, I mean, you don't realize how like different they are. Like when he was at playing tackle, he's on an island out there. Now he's having to worry about, I mean, it's probably, I don't want to say easier, but he's a little more protected
or
at
comfortable.
guard.
Yeah.
He's a little more protected. He's got, someone to his left and his right, as opposed to, just being on an island.
What do you make of Blake Brandel at right tackle then, as a redshirt freshman? You think him and Stanton are pretty close in kind of physical or like physique, right? In terms of size and weight, or is Brandel a little bigger?
I mean, they both look like offensive linemen.
Right.
Like one of them's not like dangerously small. I mean,
so would you say Dustin Stanton's dangerously small?
No. He's like what, 6'4", he's 300 pounds. That's they're both good sized.
Right.
I wouldn't say, at least for Brandel, I don't think he doesn't have an NFL tackle body yet.
Right.
But he's just a freshman. Stanton has had to like work really hard to get to his weight. He came in as a tight end, now is playing guard. So like I don't think like size wise they're getting there. It's just basically all of them were playing a new position this week, and Sean Harlow is coming back after missing almost an entire year. Like you can't expect the offensive line to be just clicking right away. It takes some time.
Yeah, I agree.
Like touching the NFL, like one of the reasons why they think the offensive line play is so poor in the NFL now is because they don't have enough time to practice. They don't practice, like they don't go live as much. You don't have time to work with that 5 people, because the thing of the offensive line, they have to work as one. That's 5 people working as one unit. No other position really works that way. No other like position group. Yeah,
I mean, it's almost like a broken record, Brian, because I was just looking at a few statistics on my phone, and they didn't have very good offensive line play last year, even with Isaac Seumalo in there, and the Beavers have had. And I'm just to say, they've had NFL bodies the last 2 years. Isaac Seumalo's in the pros. Arguably, Gavin Andrews and Sean Harlow are both going to get shots at the pros. Arguably, Dustin Stanton might even get a shot at the pros. And, it's simple. They just got to open up holes for the running backs. And that, or Null's got to hit the hole a little faster, or Pierce has got to hit the hole a little faster. I think Pierce is going to be real well. But bottom line, that's why, if an opponent knows you're going to pass all the time, they can just pin their ears back and just, blitz you all the time, and then you're going to have your quarterback running for his life. Even Washington State and Cal, who are air raid, you look at their running backs. Washington State had against Oregon, they had huge plays off like draws and whatnot. They scored 4 or 5 touchdowns. That was the highest since Paul Wolf was there before Mike Leach. And then even Cal, Vic and Wary averages almost 100 yards rushing a game, and that's an air raid team. They're still got to have balance, even if you're a team that likes to throw the rock more than you like to run it.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what we're seeing, is that Oregon State can't get anything going in the running game to help out the passing game. They're not getting anything going in the passing game to help out the running game.
The one thing I have questioned is, I still would like to see Oregon State run more screenplays. I haven't, they had an interception. Connor Blunt had an interception to Ryan Nall on a play that was like not run a screenplay on like not a third down situation. They ran them very well against Minnesota. And if an opponent's blitzing you all the time, I think Oregon State could run that a little bit better. That's just one thing I noticed from watching a bit of the film in Colorado.
Yeah, and even with screenplays, like you have to set those up. You can't just run them we're gonna run a screenplay.
True, but they ran them very well against Minnesota.
Because they were able to get stuff going on offense with Minnesota.
But Minnesota's not the worst defense you played all year.
It's not, but they were able to get stuff going. They haven't been able to.
But that's establish what I said. Why though? That's the thing. I'm at a loss for answers.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
Hard to say, but I guess we can move on, Brian.
Yeah. So, I mean, Gary Anderson, he made a statement today, which, he basically gave out the game plan for Cal.
He did.
Yeah,
Are you surprised he gave that? He's just not a very revealing guy.
Yeah, he just said, we're going to try and control the clock. And we're going to, really try and control the clock. We're going to, take, well, I'm not actually really surprised, because he's taking the Utah model, because against,
but Utah didn't win.
Last week against Cal, Utah held Cal to 28 points, and they held the ball for 42 minutes, had like almost like 50 more plays than they did, and they're just like, all right, we're gonna keep Cal and Davis Webb and Chad Hansen, we're gonna keep them on the sidelines. We're gonna control the clock, and I think that could be dangerous because I don't know if Oregon State can manage that type of. I don't know. We can get more into score predictions a little bit later, but I think it's the right call. I think that's what they need to do because I don't think they can keep pace with a Cal offense in a shootout. So they gotta go to the run game early.
Yeah, I think they'll try to pound Ryan Nall or Tavis Pierce and really try to set up the pass. I think you may even see them run the ball 3 straight plays in that first drive and try to get first down because I like what Gary Anderson's trying to do, but at the same token, though, Brian, Utah didn't win the game with that mindset. They didn't win. Sure, they were up. I mean, you can't just say we're going to do what Utah did because this is Utah's defense way up here, and this is Oregon State. You can't just say we're going to do what they did and it's going to work the same way.
See, I would.
That's just my opinion.
Flip that on you. I would say Oregon State's running game is down here, and Utah's running game is up here.
Okay, that's fair, I guess.
Because Utah's defense, held Cal, or Utah's defense held Cal to like half to what they usually score. They're a team that scored 50 points twice this year. They've been 40 the rest of the time, and then they held them to 28 points and had a chance to win on the final play.
That's true.
Like that's all you can ask for, really, is slow down their offense enough. Give yourself a chance to win at the end of the game. And they did. Cal's defense came up with a play at the end.
I never thought I'd say that.
Exactly.
That's true. And obviously we can get into our score predictions for Oregon State here soon. And we'll get to dive into that whole game plan and what we're thinking, Brian. But I don't know. It remains to be seen if Oregon State can execute what Utah did.
Yeah. Like what was Oregon State's averaging only like 4 yards a carry right now.
Surprisingly, though, on defense, I looked at statistics last night. Oregon State is actually only like 7th or 8th in total defense. In the pack, they're actually not last or second to last.
But they have like an Idaho State on that.
I know. I'm just.
Idaho State on that schedule. They have a pretty anemic Minnesota offense on there.
I'm gonna recant your statement. They have a 3-1 Minnesota team. They have a top 25 Boise State team and a top 25 Colorado team on there. So I'm gonna recant that.
Minnesota's 3-1. What are their offensive numbers?
Let's take it. Well, I mean, Mitch Leadner's already thrown for 840 yards. Rodney Smith has ran for 402 yards. They have 3 more backs that have ran for almost 200. Leading receivers at 321. I mean, I wouldn't say they're awful. I'd have to look at where they rank in stats, but I mean, they've averaged. Let's see. They played Colorado State 131-24. They played Indiana State. That's their one cupcake. Played Penn State and lost in overtime. So I mean, I'm not gonna say that's anemic. I mean, they put up some decent points in every game. I mean, they put up almost 30 points in every game. That's not bad. It's gonna win you more games than not.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I would not categorize Minnesota as a offensive juggernaut.
No,
not even close. They would be in the Pac-12. They'd be right there with Oregon State.
We can move. Yeah, so we can move on, but that's a whole different outcome for a whole different podcast.
Yeah. So anyway, we should have a podcast with all the podcast things that we put off.
We do actually. We should just start writing them down. It's true.
Yeah. So I don't know. We can just get right into the score prediction
for sure
for Oregon State. For Oregon State to win, they have to control the clock. They can't get into a shootout where they're just going up and down the field because Oregon State I don't think they can roll with that, and they haven't shown yet that they're going to be able to execute that kind of game plan that they have in mind, where they're just going to control. They're just going to grind out the clock and establish a running game. And I don't know. Maybe Cal's defense isn't great. It hasn't been in years, but even so, I don't see Oregon State being able to hold the ball for 40 plus minutes and just keep Cal off the field. So I'm going to go 52-28 Oregon State.
Cal, in my opinion, just lost a very emotional game to Utah. That's a really hard way to lose at home. And Cal's had a couple losses like that this season. San Diego State.
Did they win that game?
I'm sorry. Cal just had a very emotional win. My apologies. Let me rephrase that. An emotional win. And Brian, I'm actually going to play the advocate that you played last week, Brian, where you thought Colorado was coming off a very emotional game and that they would kind of play a little differently against Oregon State. So I'm going to say Oregon State might actually, I'm still going to pick Cal, but I think Oregon State's going to be in this thing to the very end. I got Cal winning 31-28. But I think Oregon State also has a shot in this game because this game was very emotional for Cal. They won the game, yes, but they're going to be overlooking this Oregon State team. They crushed them last year down in Berkeley. They beat them the year before at home. I think that Oregon State is going to be looking past Cal, and I think the Beavers may even have a small shot at an upset if they play very well. I'm taking 31-28 Cal, but I'm not counting out the Beavs by any means.
I can see that. I mean, I don't know. I think Cal's offense is pretty good.
I agree, but I think
like here's the thing.
They're going to overlook Oregon State.
They still scored 28 points with only having the ball. They scored more points per minute that they held the ball.
That's true.
Like by 11. Like that's a good offense. They have players. They have 4 receivers, and I don't think Oregon State has 4 defensive backs that are going to be able to hang with them for an entire game.
Well, Dwayne Williams is looking like he might play, so that's helpful. So you're going to have Dwayne Williams out there. You're going to have Xavier Crawford out there. Who I'll take Dwayne, I'll take Xavier, and I'll take Tristan Decoud. It's that 4th receiver that'll be covered by Kendall Hill that kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah, and that could very much be it. It could just come down to some, 4th receiver
That's
in the
on.
slot
That's guarded by Kendall Hill.
Yeah, or whoever that just has a big game.
Yeah.
I can totally see that happening.
I could see Decoud shutting down Chad Hansen. I don't.
Shutting him down.
Like I'm talking maybe less than 75 yards. By Hansen's numbers, that's shutting him down.
Yeah,
I could see that very easily. But anyway,
that would be a good one. I mean, Oregon State corners like Decoud's kind of continuing a nice line. He's having a good year. I mean, last year he was missed some time and was kind of up and down, but this year he's kind of stepped into that shutdown corner role. And Oregon State's had receivers come in and play well against some top flight receivers. I mean, Steven Nelson held like Jalen Strong like in check when Oregon State upset USC.
Or Arizona State that year.
Yeah, Rashad Reynolds, shut down Marquise Lee.
Yeah.
Let's see, like you can go back to Poyer to they play well in these big games.
Brandon Hughes even going way back.
Yeah, and so I can totally see Decoud, shutting down Chad Hansen, maybe. I don't know. I think their offense is just kind of, works well with those type of receivers.
We'll see.
Yeah. So I'm sticking with my 52-28. I think Cal was going to be able to put up some points.
Alrighty.
All right, next on kind of a big game. Colorado USC to open up the Pac-12 slate on Saturday.
I got the Buffs.
The Buffs going in.
I got the Buffs coming out of the Coliseum with a win. I got them winning. Colorado's an offensive juggernaut right now. I'm going to say 41-24.
41-24.
Yeah, but Colorado's going to win this game. Their confidence is at an all-time high.
Yeah, USC is kind of that team, though. They're just lurking.
And the funny thing is, they probably have the most raw talent of anybody in the pack.
Yeah, they're lurking.
You know they're always going to be the most talented team in the pack, but they don't ever know how to use it since Petey's left.
I know they won 10 games once with Lane Kiffin, but yeah, I don't know. Gosh, Colorado 21, USC in the Coliseum.
I got Colorado.
It's tough. You know what? I'm gonna pick USC. I think the Colorado bandwagon is gonna come. It's gonna hit a bump. It's gonna hit a bump. They might trip up. USC did this last year with Utah when Utah was a top 4 team. Remember when Utah was a top 4 team or in top 5?
They were number 3.
Yeah, and
that was crazy.
USC just went in and beat them. I think USC has the talent against to match up with them.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm going USC. We're gonna go 35-27.
Alrighty.
Hate week. It is hate week.
It is. I haven't.
It's gone 11 years now.
13.
Since
since UW's beat Oregon.
Has it really been 13 years?
13 years, yep.
All right. I'll have to check that because I thought it was 11.
I'll get on that.
Yeah, so it has been a long time since Washington has beaten their hated rival, Oregon. And like the number of days has just reached. I always thought kind of one of the things like the Austin students section kind of does that's really funny is they keep like a running count. And I think that is pretty funny. So yeah, Washington all of a sudden number 5 team coming off a huge win against Stanford where they just outclassed Stanford. Just outclassed them. So I'm going to go, I think the streak ends. I'm going Washington, taking the win in Austin. I think it will be close. I think Oregon will get up for this game. I just think Washington is running a little too high. They have running on all cylinders.
Okay. Sorry, this would be the 13th year, 12 straight years.
Okay.
So I was kind of correct. But yes, this is 12 straight times the Ducks have beat the Huskies. And Brian, let's just start real quick. Let's just start from 04 when the Ducks won their first one. They haven't been close either. 04, Oregon 31, Washington 6. 05, Oregon 45, Washington 21. 06, Oregon 34, Washington 14. 07, 55-34, Oregon. 08, 44-10, Oregon. 09, 43-19. 2010, 53-16. 2011, 34-17. 2012, 52-21. 2013, 45-24. 2014, 45-20. Last year, 26-20. Last year, Washington almost got there. But this is the year they're going to do it. I got Washington winning 55-21. The Huskies are going to roll. Sorry, I'm if Oregon thinks they're going to solve all their problems by starting Justin Herbert at quarterback, they are sadly mistaken. This is going to be I don't know if it's been rumored, it's been said this, it's been said that, but Oregon's got some issues right now and they're not going to solve it against Washington.
Yeah, I don't like this move putting in Justin
Herbert, I think. Herbert, yeah. I mean, it's John Canzado thinks it might be a smokescreen to give Chris Peterson something else to think about. I think
if you're Chris Peterson, does it even matter?
No, not at all. Your defense. I mean, the game. It's like Gary Anderson said with Steven Montez and Stefo Lufau. Usually, if you have a system quarterback, it's not going to change based on unless one guy's a pocket passer and one guy's a scrambler. I mean,
yeah, I don't get this move unless he's actually unless Herbert is a lot better than Prukop.
But as a true freshman, you think he's better than a 5th-year guy that's played 4 times? I mean, I don't like it. I think the move screams desperation.
Yeah, and it's especially with like young players, you want to put them in position to succeed, and so the position to succeed is putting him against one of the top. I think that they are the top defense in the Pac-12.
They are in the Pac-12. They might be top 10 nationally too.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a good idea. I mean, Oregon's offense hasn't been anything special. It's like you shut down Royce Freeman, and where do they go? So I don't like the move. I think Washington wins big. I think it's gonna be like 48-21.
48-21, huh?
Yep.
Let's see here. I'm trying to look this up just real quick.
You know what? I'll go 26.
Oh, gonna give the Ducks a few points?
Yeah, they can still score.
Yeah, I said the Ducks are going to get crushed. I mean, I'm sorry. UW is good. Their offense, Browning, Gaskin, John Ross, Chico McClatcher. I mean, I mean, they're that good. They are. And to think all those pieces are still very young. Browning's a sophomore. Gaskin's a sophomore. John Ross is a junior. They don't...
Man, Washington owes USC just a huge thank you.
They do, because, they probably still have Sarkisian.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, when Sarkisian left for USC, I said, wow, the Huskies got an upgrade.
Yeah.
A massive upgrade. I mean, I'm not sure if you agree, Brian, but I've been sold on it for a long time that I think Chris Peterson is in the upper echelon of coaches, and you're seeing it now. I mean, I'm not saying he's Nick Saban or Urban Meyer level by any opinion, but he's in probably top 20 coaches in the nation, in my opinion.
Yeah, by win percentage, I think he's number 1.
I'm going to take that with a grain of salt because a lot of them are whack in Mountain West wins. But, I mean, the guy knows what to do, and he knows how to win, and look at what he built in Washington.
Third year, and he's already in the top 5, and
Think Oregon
they
State
look
fans.
dominant.
Think Oregon State fans can hope for that with Gary Anderson next year, top 5, Brian.
No. Anderson doesn't have the track record as Peterson.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. So Washington wins big over Oregon. Oregon drops 4 straight, and
yeah, I mean, if Oregon pulls this off, Helfrich saves his job. If not, and then one thing to note, Brian. Interestingly enough, Oregon State is selling tickets for $9 on StubHub to this game. Just seeing that kind of caught my eye as we were going down the Pac-12 list here, but we already picked Oregon State, California. We can move on to Utah and Arizona. Utah remained in the top 25 even after losing to Cal.
yeah, I mean, it's a close loss on the road. It happens.
Yeah.
What were they? They were 20?
18th.
18. Yeah, 6-point drop. That's
Average.
That's a fair drop.
So what are you thinking on this one, Brian?
Utah.
Yeah, I got Utah too. It's at home. It's in Rice. Eccles. I don't even think. I mean, be a typical Utah win. I'm thinking like 28-14.
28-14. Yeah.
I don't think a whole lot of points are scored.
Arizona has quarterback issues up the wazoo.
The wazoo?
And I don't know if they have like Anu Solomon's been injured and been really not good.
But yet as a freshman, people are like, oh my gosh, this is like the next Mariota.
He played that way. And then
yeah, it's funny.
Their backup is
Dawkins.
Is it Brandon Dawkins?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was injured last week, and now it's a mess at quarterback.
Yes, it's a mess down there in Arizona, period. And then the swirling rumors, Brian, that Rich Rodriguez wants to leave Arizona too.
I mean, I wouldn't blame him. He's out of basketball school.
Well, yeah, I heard he wants to leave, and I heard Arizona's more than willing to let him, take off, and Rich Rodriguez wants to go back east, and that's just not things you want to have in the media.
It's really not, but I don't know. I think when you go, coach at a basketball school, it's tough. It's tough to change a culture to turn a basketball school into a football school.
Yeah, but I mean, he took them to a Pac-12 championship. They've just gone downhill since then.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's interesting. I think injuries to like a guy like Scooby Wright pretty much derailed his college career after that breakout sophomore season. I mean, it's interesting. It really is. So I got Utah though, 28-14.
I'm going 35-10.
Okay.
Utah. Oops.
This next one is interesting. UCLA and Arizona State. This one makes me think a little bit, Brian.
I don't know. Both these teams, I just think, are just overrated.
It's in Sun Devil Stadium. I got the Sun Devils. I do, just because they lost. They were flying high before losing to USC. UCLA, they beat Arizona, but it's not very impressive to me. I think I got Arizona State winning a shootout. I think a lot of points are scored in this one because both defenses aren't super. Well, UCLA is better than
yeah, I don't know.
I got Arizona State winning 35-24. Or did I say UCLA? I meant Arizona State.
Yep, you said Arizona State.
Okay, sorry. Arizona State winning 35-24.
I don't know. This could be a big show me game for Josh Rosen. I think he needs to have a good game. Has he had a Josh Rosen type game? Arizona State's defense isn't very good.
I think this game could be a coin flip. I really do. I think it could very easily be 35-24 UCLA. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I'm going with the Sun Devils. Got my gut here.
I'm going UCLA. I think they have a better defense. I just think Arizona State's, what's their record? They're 4-1. Yeah, I'm not buying them. I'm going UCLA.
Okay.
I'm going to go 28-17.
Okay.
Low scoring.
This next one's got me excited.
This was such a good game last year, and Washington State should have won.
Washington State, Stanford. I got the Cougs. I do. I got the Cougs, and I got the Cougs 42-21. I got the Cougs winning by 3 scores. I think Stanford is soul-searching a little bit. The Cougs are riding high. Their offense is starting to click. I think they go right in. I think the Cougars remember last year that they should have won this game. And the Cougars would have arguably had a shot at winning. I don't know. I can't remember the exact standings, Brian, but I think they would have shot at winning the North if they won, right?
Yeah, I'd have to relook at the standings.
But I remember them having a real shot at winning the North last year. I'd have to go back and look. But we can actually take a quick look.
No, if they hadn't lost to Washington the last week, and if Luke Falk had played, maybe that's a whole different game.
Because if Stanford would give Stanford 2 losses and then the Cougars lost to Washington that last week.
Yeah. Oh no, they actually probably would have, because they all would have had 2 losses, and Washington State beat Oregon and Stanford. Yeah, they would have been.
Yeah, they would have been in the Pac-12 championship game.
Crazy.
So, but yeah, that's crazy because Washington State had the tiebreaker. Who were their 3 conference losses to other than Washington? They were Washington,
Stanford, and Cal.
That's right. Cal beat him in that shootout game. Anyway, but yeah, that's crazy. Washington State remembers that game. I got them 42-21. I got the Cougs. They ain't gonna be Couging it tonight.
I'm gonna go with Stanford.
They bit you last week. You going back to the hand again, Brian?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And it's all because of coaching. I'll take David Shaw as a coach over Mike Leach.
I would too, but I think I think the Cougars are gonna get it done. So we picked drastically different this week, Brian. We'll see how they turn out next week.
Yeah.
I'll probably look like a donkey.
I think sometimes you just need to get punched in the face to kind of like wake you up. You need to take that first hit before it's just like, okay, just kind of settle you down. I think that's what happened to Stanford. Stanford just walked into a hornet's nest with up at Husky Stadium, and I don't know. I think that might have waken them up a little bit, maybe refocus them, because I mean I know one thing is that Stanford, they're used to success. They not only like in football, but in their lives, they know how to make adjustments and they know how to prepare. So sometimes you just get your butt whooped. We've seen it in college football all the time.
Indeed, we have.
So I think Stanford's defense they'll get back in shape, and they'll keep it low scoring. They'll keep it'll still be like, I'll go 35. Man, they're gonna score 15 more points than their average. I'm gonna go 35.
Okay.
27.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, man. This is a good week for Pac-12. There's outside, the Cal OSU game, there's some intrigue there, obviously, but then Colorado, USC, Washington, Oregon, and then Washington State, Stanford. Those are all like really good games, and I'm just really excited for the whole weekend. We're expecting nice weather on Saturday.
74 and sunny.
74 and sunny.
Partly
nice.
Cloudy, sunny. That's going to be real nice. Make sure to check out the KBVR coverage of the game and OMN's coverage of the game. 88.7, 5:30. We'll also have OMN pregame and postgame videos featuring Brian Rathbone, myself, Josh Warden, Cassie Wood, and Keenan Puncocher. Make sure to check out all that as well. And Brian, we don't have to be at Reeser until 3 o'clock. We'll get some college football during the day.
Yeah, that's nice.
It is actually kind of nice, isn't
especially
it?
Especially that USC Colorado game.
Not having to wake up at 8 to be at the game. It's not bad.
I mean, but of course, on the flip side,
that's true.
The late nights of
it is hard to please someone in media on football game days.
Yeah,
it's not an easy life anyway, is it?
Yeah,
but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Nope, we enjoy it. So thank you everyone again for continuing to listen to the nonsense that we're saying.
It might be more than nonsense for me, but
is this episode 6 or 7?
6.
6, man, just flying through these. We'll keep them coming as long as people are listening, and people are listening, so we'll keep them coming.
All right.
So thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.